This is 2-4's homework assignment in the textbook. We're on page 88. We're starting with number 2. We'll go through 11 and then 24 to 26. So number 2, we are going to simplify negative, 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 w. So you can just count the number of negatives. Every 2 will cancel out. A negative and a negative make a positive. So if you have an odd number of negatives, that's always going to create a negative. An even number will always create a positive because even means there's groups of 2 and they cancel each other out. So basically these 2 negatives would cancel each other into a positive, leaving you just a negative w. Number 3. Find the opposite of each expression. So we have negative 2n. We're going to find the opposite of that. So we're going to add a negative and we're going to simplify. 2 negatives make a positive. It's 2n. Number 4. Find the opposite of 6p minus 8. So we have 6p minus 8. The opposite is negative outside of the quantity, and you're going to distribute it. So it's negative 6p, and then a negative times a negative is plus 8. Number 5. You can put the whole thing in parentheses and put the negative outside like I did here and distribute, but when you do that, it's just going to change the signs. A negative will make a positive negative, and a negative makes another negative positive. So this is going to become positive 2a squared. This is going to become negative 28a. This is going to become positive 15. Number 6. The opposite of negative x is not. So it can't be negative x, right? The opposite of negative x is not negative x. That doesn't make sense. So letter A is obviously part of this. The opposite of negative x is x, so that's true. If you look at letter C, 2 negatives make a positive, so this is just x. It's the same as letter B. Okay, so this is the opposite of negative x. And then out here, this looks just like that first one we had, just an x instead of a w. 2 of these negatives will cancel, but one of them remains, and so this is negative x. The opposite of negative x is not negative x, so letter D is also part of the answer. It's A and D. Okay, number 7. Which of the following is equal to negative p plus 7? So first, let's simplify this. Distribute the negative. We get negative p minus 7. So as we test this out, negative p plus 7, that's not equal. P plus negative 7, nope, the p's got to be negative. Negative p plus negative 7. So this says minus 7, but that's the same as writing plus negative 7. We've talked about that. So that appears to be the answer. And then if you look at letter D, p minus 7, the minus 7 is fine, but the p is not negative. So letter C is the correct answer. The p is negative, and the 7 is negative. Number 8, which expression does not equal that? So let's simplify it first. We have negative, or the opposite of x minus y. Distribute. Positive x becomes negative x. Negative y becomes positive y. So we need a negative x and a positive y, which is not equal to. So we're looking for the one that's different than that. So first of all, we have a negative x and a positive y. That's good. We have a negative x and a negative y. So that's not good. So B is part of the answer here. Negative x, and then 2 negatives make a positive y. That's good. This is a positive y and a negative x, positive y, negative x. So that is also good. So B is the only answer here. All right, number 9 through 11, we're just going to simplify these. So we have the opposite of x plus 15. That's negative x minus 15. Distribute the negative. Both were positive. Both become negative. Number 10, opposite of 4n minus 3m. You're going to distribute. That makes this a negative 4n, and that makes this a positive 3m. Just changes the sign. And number 11, we are going to distribute the negative here. So that becomes negative 7k to the 4th, and that becomes positive 9. So I have 3k to the fourth plus 4. And so I've got to do some combining here. I feel like I did something incorrect here. I'm looking at the answer key and it doesn't really make sense. So 3k to the fourth plus 4 minus 7k to the fourth minus 9. Answer key is definitely wrong here. So we distributed this negative and we got a negative 7. We got a positive 9. So a 3 minus a 7k is going to be a negative 4k to the fourth. And a positive 4 and a positive 9 is a plus 13. Oh, no wonder I copied the wrong one down. I'm doing number 13. So you got a little extra bonus there. That was number 13, but you want to see number 11. So let's go to number 11. No wonder the answer key doesn't match. I knew something was wrong. Okay, the actual number 11, we're going to distribute the negative. So I get minus x and I get minus 2 and I still have x here. When I combine like terms, I have an x and a minus x. That just cancels itself out. This is a 1 minus 1, or a 1 and a negative 1. So that's 0. So all I'm left with is negative 2, and that matches the answer key for number 11. So that makes sense. Okay, that was 2 through 11. Going now to 24. So kind of some review. Back to lesson 2-3. So number 24. Working with a number puzzle, we are going to pick any number we want and complete the number below. So let's start with, let's do 10. So I'm going to start with 10. Step 1, subtract 1 from your number, that's 9. Multiply this by 8, that's 72. Add 20, that's 92. Divide by 4. So 92 divided by 4 is 23. Subtract 5, that's 18. Divide by 2, that's 9. Add 1, that's 10. And the result will be your original number. I started with 10, I ended with 10. That's part A. Part B now, we're going to let n represent the original number, and we're going to write an expression for each step. So first we're going to subtract 1, that's n minus 1. We're going to multiply this now by 8. So that's like doing 8 times n minus 1. Distribute, and that's 8n minus 8. Then we're going to add 20. So when we add 20, it doesn't combine with the 8n. Those are not like terms, just with the minus 8. So 8n is going to stay. Minus 8 plus 20 is positive 12. Divide by 4. All of it gets divided by 4. So the 12 does, and the 8n. So I'm going to get a 2n, and I'm going to get a plus 3. Next, I'm going to subtract 5. So I'm minusing 5 from this expression. When I do that, it cannot combine with the 2n, so that's going to stay. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. Now I'm going to divide by 2. Both terms are going to get divided by 2. You can write it as one big fraction over 2 or separate. We've talked about that. 2 divided by 2 is just 1, so it's a 1n. And 2 divided by 2 is 1, so it's a minus 1. And then we're just going to add 1. When we do that, it doesn't combine with the n. It only combines with the minus 1. So negative 1 plus 1 is just 0, and I'm left with n. And again, the result should be your original number. I started with n. I ended with n. All right, and we have 25 and 26, and we are done. So 25. Got a lot going on here. We're just going to simplify. So we're going to do some distributing and then combining like terms. So this first one, I always like to look at the whole problem first before I just blindly start doing something. These both have pluses in front of them, so basically a 1 distributes, nothing's going to happen. And so we can just leave those alone. Now, plus and negative is the same as writing minus, so I am going to change that. I'm just going to write minus 7t. This one doesn't change. I didn't distribute a negative and change this, so it's still positive. This is the only thing I really have to do in step 1, is distribute. So this becomes 3t plus 15. This is a positive 4t, so there's a plus there. Now I have a lot of terms here, so I need to go slow, be careful, make sure I get them all added up correctly. A 3t and a 4t is a 7t, and then I have a negative 7t. So a 7t and a negative 7t just cancels everything out. So when I fully simplify this, I'm just going to have one whole number, no variables. So 15 minus 7, 15 minus 7, that's 8, and then 8 plus 8 leaves me 16. And that is all that remains. That is fully simplified. And 26. I'm going to use x instead of v just so I don't get confused because of my bad handwriting. 11w. So instead of let's just go with v so it's not confusing. So no x there. We'll go with v. Plus 7w. Okay, so analyze the whole problem before you start. I distribute the 2, I distribute the 3. That's the very first thing you're going to do. You're going to get 2 terms here and 2 terms here, and then we're going to combine our like terms. So 2 times 2v, that's 4v. 2 times negative 11 is negative 22w. Before I bring this plus down, I need to make sure that it's going to be positive. It's a positive times a positive, so it is. But you can't automatically bring that down. 3 times v is 3v. 3 times 7 is positive 21w. So v's go together. That is 7v. Negative 22 and positive 21 almost cancel each other out completely, but you do have one more negative. So it's a negative 1w, and we don't usually write the 1 in front of it, but it's not incorrect to do so. But your final answer is 7v minus w.